Our dear viewers, welcome to this special edition of our program Africa Today, where we are going to shed light about the current developments taking place in the region, where Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry expressed the need for restraint in a phone call to foreign ministers of Iran and Israel on Sunday. A foreign ministry statement said that Shoukry called on his Iranian and Israeli counterparts to exercise utmost self-restraint and refrain from any provocations that would increase the tension and instability in the region.
Minister Sameh Shoukry conducted intensive diplomatic efforts through phone conversations with his counterparts from the United States, Iran, and Israel on Sunday, aiming to de-escalate increasing tensions in the Middle East. The phone discussions revolved around the launch of Iranian drones targeting Israeli sites, which began late Saturday in response to an Israeli strike on the Iranian consulate in Damascus, escalating tensions amid the ongoing Israeli war on Gaza. In his calls with Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian and Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz, Shoukry emphasized the grave threat the military escalation poses to regional security and stability. Shoukry expressed Egypt's deep concern due to the ongoing unprecedented military escalation between Iran and Israel, which threatens to spiral the situation out of control, jeopardize regional stability, and endanger the interests of its peoples. Egypt's top diplomat urged his Iranian and Israeli counterparts to exercise maximum restraint and refrain from brip and mutual provocations, further tensions and instability in the Middle East. Shoukry also conveyed to both ministers Egypt's readiness to intensify efforts and collaboration to fuse the current crisis with taking on a dangerous escalatory trend, given the ongoing crisis in the Gaza Strip and the daily suffering of the Palestinian people. Furthermore, he called them for reinforcing rational discourse and enabling diplomatic endeavors aimed at preserving stability and ensuring the safety of the region's populations. Egypt's stance in calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and facilitating the entry of humanitarian aid. Shoukry also underscored Egypt's rejection of any actions aimed at displacing Palestinians from their lands, including military operations on the ground in the Palestinian city of Rafah.
And to shed more light on the developments taking place in the region, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by Ambassador Midhat El-Meligi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Ambassador El-Meligi, what are the latest developments on the ground concerning the Iranian-Israeli escalation, and how do we see the situation with the unexpected escalation by the Iranian side?
Well, first of all, we have to understand that this is not a surprise. I mean, yes, everybody knew of this attack, which proves that to a certain extent there is a kind of coordination between Iran and the United States, yes, about the attacks, especially that the missiles that were and the drones that were launched took around 6 to 8 hours to reach targets in Israel.
Yes.
Strategically speaking, this attack did not result in any casualties or any death among the Israeli, or even to hit any targets as designated, which actually casts some doubt about the reason behind it. We have to understand, although we totally understand the desire of Iran to retaliate from attacks that took place a few weeks ago on the Iranian consulate that actually led to the death of 7 of its personnel, and including some generals.
Yes.
But the retaliation was a little bit mysterious and blurry to many observers. I mean, it did not hit any targets on one side, and actually it helped Israel in so many ways to achieve what it was always meant to be achieved. I mean, we have to understand that we have in front of us several repercussions of these attacks. For instance, we are talking about now there is a dispersal of all demonstrations against Netanyahu demanding his voluntary ouster from the government.
Yes.
This have vanished now, and even in the United States, that there was a big debate about if we should give Israel more financial and military help and arms. Now there is more and more people who are saying that Israel should have the help it needs since it's defending itself against an Iranian aggression. Israel once again managed to use this opportunity that did not actually leave any side effects on Israel, but to use it in its favor, that now she is again taking the place of the victim, a place that Israel always loved to be in this seat, the seat of the victim. So now there is a lot of people, even the demonstrators, the demonstrations in Europe and in the United States have become a little cooler and less effective than before, because Israel, according to many observers, Western observers, of course, are being seen as a country that has been targeted for aggression from Iran. And of course, this would lead to the double standard that they are always dealing with any situation in the Middle East. I mean, we didn't hear and we didn't get any kind of sympathy with Iran when its consulate was violated according to the international law in Damascus by killing many of its personnel. And this did not provoke any reaction from the Western world. However, many Western countries, including the spokesperson of the EU itself, spoke about that in unconditional way. We support Israel in this attack, and I mean the condemnation was very clear. But in the other case, we didn't see that. We hear only about concerns of the Western community more than condemnation to Israel of attacking a sovereign country, which is Syria, and attacking a diplomatic mission there, which is another violation. But this did not provoke anything. But of course, the retaliation of Iran also didn't kill anyone. But the Western administration supported one to the reasons behind it. Now they have the reason. They have the alibi that they could support Israel because it's defending itself. And I think that the end result is very expected, and putting Israel in the seat of the leader in the region, being the victim now and being the one who has been aggressed. Unfortunately, this is the result that we have. But not to talk about if this was a theatrical appearance of Iran, or it was meant to be harder, but they couldn't, lack of possibilities and lack of capabilities, or it was meant to be calculated in a certain way so that Israel would not retaliate, although what we heard already from the Prime Minister of Israel and many other Israeli officials, that they reserve the right to retaliate at the moment and the time and the place that they desire.
Indeed.
Which again put Israel in the place where it could now retaliate once again to the Iranian attack.
Yes. Sir, from your point of view, what role did the United States and other Western allies play in supporting Israel's defense against the Iranian attack, which is, I believe, the first on the Israeli soil directly since 1979?
Well, actually, the United States have been playing a role that is very of Israel. I mean, we've seen it, that they supported it in the Security Council. I mean, we didn't hear anything in the Security Council that failed to obtain unanimous decision on the Israeli attack on a sovereign country and on a diplomatic mission in Damascus. This was never the case. And of course, once again, we don't think that the Security will come out with any resolution condemning Israel for its attack. On the contrary, what we heard already from various countries that are permanent members of the Security Council, and mainly, I mean, the States and the United Kingdom, have both expressed their support with Israel. So I don't think that they will issue any resolution condemning Iran. Of course, we have two other permanent members of the security, also although the situation is one by two, a sovereign country, and while the other one is to the attack. But they are both taking the money and will not have any. So the United States will hear that there's a $14 billion line to Israel from the United States. That's the reason we have raison d'etre, as you say, for the United States to once again give money to Israel, while it was at a certain point hesitant to do that and reluctant to provide more money to Israel because of the public opinion, as we said, being weak on Israel. We give the United States administration power to give Israel the aid that it won't give before. So
Indeed.
once again, we have a clear support, clear American support to Israel, and of course the Western world as well.
Mr. Ambassador, what are the potential implications of this escalation for the regional stability and security, which is already many challenges like the country?
The ball is in the Israeli court. When and where they want to retaliate, the United States have expressed its concern that it doesn't want Israel to retaliate, and maybe that's why Iran did not want to attack in a way that would lead Israel by default to retaliate. Unfortunately, we cannot really trust that Israel will not retaliate, because what we heard already so far that they will, at a certain moment, that they will decide themselves. But of course, besides that, there are other side effects. I mean, we have to understand that Israel has always wanted to expand the conflict and attack more sites in Lebanon and in Syria, and maybe, of course, in Iraq as well, and maybe also occupying parts of these countries, such as Lebanon and so on, in order to deter Iran and their proxies to attack once again Israel.
Yes.
But of course, we have seen that there is already a closure of the airspace of many Arab countries, including our countries, just in order to see what will happen in the next step. There is, of course, a prevention. Unfortunately, one of the direct side effects on the Palestinian cause, which is the most important issue right now, there is prevention, Israeli prevention, and the reason is here that we are worried about any country who wants to drop aid to the Palestinians, so they are closing the airspace and preventing the dropping of any aid. And maybe also what we heard will happen, that they can shoot, even take any aircraft, as long as there is no coordination with Israel. So once again, we are, by this Iranian action, we are putting once again Israel in the place where it can choose what to do and what not to do. And of course, understand that there will be more closure of the Red Sea, and thus the decline in the Suez Canal revenues, creating an economic maybe crisis in Egypt. And this is something else to be accompanied also and coupled with definitely a decline in tourism after, especially that we are starting a season of tourism in Egypt, where people who are coming for the Red Sea and for other touristic, especially the summer season of tourism. There will be a decline in this after several Western warnings about the security in the Middle East in general. Especially Palestinian-Israeli negotiation to establish the long-term truce that we spoke about, and of course the two-state solution at a certain point. Unfortunately, this attack did not have any positive results, according to the leaders who made this attack take place. But the results and the repercussions, the negative repercussions, are going to touch each and every other country.
Indeed, Ambassador Medhat El-Meligi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much for your very precious input. Always a pleasure, sir. And indeed, former Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mohammad Hijazi, said on Sunday that the Israeli aggression on Syria and Lebanon, including the attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus, was an attempt from the Israeli government to drag the region into more violence.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Mohammad Hijazi said on Sunday that the Israeli aggressions in Syria and Lebanon, including the attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus, was an attempt from the Israeli government to drag the region into more violence. In statements to Egypt's Middle East news agency MENA, Hijazi said that the Israeli government seeks to remain in power even if it endangers its interests and security as well as the region's, highlighting the repercussions of confrontation with Iran regionally and internationally. On Saturday, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps launched an unprecedented direct drone and missile attack on Israel. Iran labeled the attack as an act of self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter protecting countries' rights to legitimate defense after Israel struck the Iranian consulate in Damascus on April 1st, killing top Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps commanders. Hijazi said the government of Benjamin Netanyahu strives to stay in power by dragging the Middle East region into confrontations, especially after Egypt, regional powers, and the U.S. rejected an Israeli plan to carry out a military attack on the Palestinian city of Rafah. The Israeli army failed to achieve the objectives it set since the outbreak of the war, including the ability to eliminate Hamas and bring back the captives. Hijazi noted that the Israeli government and its prime minister considered that widening the violence and the continuation of the war for months would enable it to remain in power. He pointed out that these regional developments came ahead of the new round of negotiations in Cairo, expressing his appreciation for Egypt's stance and its call for maximum self-control to prevent further instability and tension in the region.
Well, our dear viewers, with that we come to the end of this edition of our program Africa Today. Many thanks for watching.